Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here in my little dilapidated converted garage. I am, of course, your host, John Campea. Good to have you guys here. Thrilled today. It's not Monday, but that's okay. Schedules mean nothing to this man. Christian Harloff is here today, ladies and gentlemen.
Schedules do mean nothing. That is very true. Welcome back, me. Thanks.
Good to have you. And of course, Jonathan Voico is here today. Jonathan, how you doing?
I'm good. The second most popular guest on today's show. All right. The second one. The second guest.
Course,
he's not a guest in his own show.
Most important, of course, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show a part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to work. We're going to start off by talking about a few predetermined topics we got lined up for you guys. Then in the second part of the show, I'm going to be taking your live comments and questions. If you are watching live, and you have to be watching live in order to send in a super chat, and you've got a thought, theory, opinion, question, observation, or an issue you'd like me to discuss, go ahead and fire it on into the super chat feature. Now, I'm going to let you know the super chats are already well past full. So I'm going to leave them on for about another 5 minutes, and then I'm going to turn them off. So if you guys do have a super chat you want to send in, you've got about 5 minutes to do it, and then I'll need to turn them off, and then I will answer all of them as long as I deem them appropriate to be addressed on the show in the second part of the show. All right, guys. That all down, we got a bunch of things to talk about here today, and we're going to start off with this. You guys know that, like, one of my favorite guys in the industry is Dave Bautista. Good Filipino kid. Dave Bautista, he was the very first celeb guy to come on our 24-hour marathon that we did a bunch of years ago to help support the typhoon relief efforts. I've had a chance to get together with him on several different occasions. I have never met, and I mean this sincerely, I've never met a more humble guy in the business. I several times talked to him. He's like, listen, I know I have no business being here. I remember, Christian, I was on the set. Remember that movie that RZA did? I think it was called The Man with the Iron Fists.
Yeah.
I went down, I was on set of that movie, and I had a chance to sit down with Bautista, and I'll never forget this. First time I ever heard an actor say this. And he said, he looked around the set, he goes, look around. He goes, I have no business being here. I know how lucky I am to be in the position I'm in. And, and that's always stuck with me. He's just a sweetheart of a guy. And it looks like he may end up being our brand new Kratos. You guys remember that Ryan Hurst from Sons of Anarchy fame, and he's, of course, you can see him in the Odyssey right now. He was cast and started shooting the show, but then he tore his bicep. And that's an injury that could take him like a year before he can use his arm properly. So they've got to go back and reshoot a bunch of stuff. And the question became, who's going to be the new Kratos? And now, according to this report in Variety, it very well could be Dave Bautista. This is what Variety wrote. Dave Bautista could be the next God of War. Variety has learned from sources that Bautista is currently in talks for the role of Kratos in the Amazon Prime Video series based on the popular video game franchise. The news comes after it was reported that Ryan Hurst, who had originally been cast in the role of the titular god in January of 2026, suffered a torn bicep on the set of the series and would have delayed a return production until 2027. Ultimately, leading to Amazon and Sony to recast the part. The plan is to get production back up and running by the fall. And first of all, I said this before when we talked about Ryan losing the role. It was really unfortunate to hear about that because, Ryan Hurst is a guy who I believe is an absolutely tremendous actor, like fabulous actor. And I've loved him in everything he's been in. And I thought he was going to make a great Kratos. And he worked so hard for it. And then to have something like this happen, it's really unfortunate. Now, as we mentioned before, some of you remember that in the game God of War Ragnarok, Ryan Hurst played Thor. So I don't know, maybe they'll let him come back and play Thor in season 2. Maybe yes, maybe no. So, but the Bautista thing is an interesting choice because number one, Bautista has evolved from those early days of Man with the Iron Fist saying, I don't even know if I belong here, to, man, just watch him in Blade Runner and several other things. He has evolved and developed into a legit Hollywood actor. He's got chops, especially comedy. He's actually quite good at comedy, but he's got chops. Whether he's got them enough, guys, at this point to be the lead of a tentpole franchise television series, as much as I like Dave, I honestly don't know the answer to that yet. I don't think we've had anything really comparable that he's been in yet to say, oh yes, this will directly translate into him being great in this role. The one kind of little floating question mark I have is Dave Bautista isn't the same size he used to be. You know, even when you watched him in, what was that one he just did with Jason Momoa? Was it Wrecking Crew?
Right. Wrecking Crew.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that, by the way. I thought that was more fun than it had any business being.
Yeah, and that was also Amazon.
Yeah, it was also
so it kind of makes
Amazon
sense. It's kind of in the family. Why they would kind of.
And in that, he's clearly still a big, in shape, strong guy, but he's not the same monster we used to see in the WWE. So, and at his age, putting that muscle back on isn't as easy as it was when he was 40. So, I mean, that's going to be an interesting question mark. But the most important thing is, of course, you know, getting somebody who can really act. There's that Oliver dude who played Paulie in Reacher season 3, who goes around, who's like dwarfs Alan Richardson. Like that guy's massive. Like a 7'5" bodybuilder, like legit bodybuilder, one of the most massive human beings in the world. But I just don't know that he's got the acting chops to lead a series like this. So I don't know, Christian, it seems to me that Bautista was the fallback name in everybody's mind. Like when it got announced that Ryan went down, it seemed like most people online were saying, well, how about Dave Bautista? How would you feel about Bautista taking this role? And do you think he'd be a good suit for it?
I think he's perfect for it. And one thing is from what, and again, I think so, this is accurate, but I also thought he did, because I remember him making that one statement that he didn't want to put that type of weight on again, and that he was kind of, because he had dropped the weight. However, I think that he put it back on for Highlander, if I'm not mistaken. I think that he put some more muscle and stuff.
Well,
back on.
I saw some footage of him in Highlander, and he definitely looks great. I mean, he doesn't look
not as big as
we're used to
never going to do
but he's
that
big.
Again. He was in, he was in his 30s, and he was, height of wrestling. But now enough so, because and again, when you don't have to be wrestling big to look big on screen, right? It's like sometimes some of those guys, like remember back in when Triple H was on Blade 3 or whatever, and he looked too big for, and he looked fine wrestling, but so he knows what to do as far as that goes. As far as this, it's just a matter of how long they're going to do it. The good thing is that they are shooting seasons 1 and 2 back to back. So that's yes, it's a commitment, but it's also enough that you can have him at the time and the age that he's at currently. Yes, he's an athlete, those too, but the wear and tear gets to you for sure. It depends on how physical the role is going to be. But as far as the look goes, he's absolutely perfect. And there's going to be more conversation about what really happened with, original lead Ryan and him, and what happened, because it almost feels like an Eric Stoltz situation to me. And I don't want to just, yes, he got injured. He absolutely, but they shot like what, 4 or 5 episodes already or something like this show too. And so I know that they're waiting because there's a kid in it. So maybe they don't want to lose. They don't want to wait enough time because the kid's going to age out, even though they're replacing a kid in season 2 because they're going to jump forward. But there's just a lot more going on that I think is really there, that I think that maybe they said, okay, look, maybe we cast incorrectly. And as you said, John, maybe they bring him back for another role, for another thing. So they really like him. They like working with him, but it was an unfortunate situation. But they said, if you shot that many episodes already, and then you're going to recast, and then you're going to recast, and you go, well, because they're totally different actors, completely different actors.
Yeah, very different actors.
I think, my opinion, and I think Ryan's a great actor. I loved him in The Odyssey and other things he's been in. I think that Bautista's better suited for this role. And I think I think that they might have, unfortunately, because of the guy's poor injury, they might have a happy accident for Amazon anyway.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at it though, I could understand, even with them having shot a number of episodes, if you literally have to put the whole production on hiatus for a full year, like bringing in Bautista is the difference between losing 4 months versus losing 12 to 14 months. And like, look, at the
And
end of the day,
and schedules that you could potentially lose from other actors and stuff too, for sure.
And the kid, like you mentioned, the kid may be aging out and stuff like that. They're already going to cast a different kid for season 2 anyway, because they're jumping ahead a bunch of years. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, this could end up being a Harrison Ford, Tom Selleck, Indiana Jones situation. Tom Selleck was supposed to get the role. A contract with Magnum PI forced him out of it. And actually, history was well served. And maybe that'll be the case here with Dave Bautista taking him. Maybe it'll be the best situation.
I agree. I think we're going to be in one of those situations where it's like, I couldn't even imagine anyone else playing Kratos. I mean, he was so good because he's got to have that anger. Because going back to what you were saying about how he's like an actor, he's not only an actor, he's definitely the best wrestler that has gone into acting as far as talent goes.
100%.
It was that movie he did with Shyamalan that really, really won me over with his ability to.
Where they show up at the house.
He's so good in that movie, and he's carrying that movie. He's the guy in that movie. And I said, that was the one that won me over, because before that I was like, I still think Rock, because of the things he did in like Faster and other things. I know what John Cena does, but Bautista won me over because I was like, I just seen him, and maybe wrong, but I just seen him as Drax, and like, yeah, sure, he's in Dune, he does his thing. He's so good in that movie, and everything else that he's done, he really is dedicated to the craft, and I think that he's earned a role like this.
Now, I've had the cabin.
Yes, that's the one.
Exactly.
Now, I've had a few people write in this morning before the show started in the live chat and ask, well, what does in talks mean? Does that mean that they're interested? Usually what in talks means is that the studio has decided this is our guy, and the guy has decided, yeah, I want the role. And now it's a matter to see if they can work out a deal that works for both of them. Like 9 times out of 10, when it comes down to then being in talks, it usually works out at that, because at that point, they're pretty far down the road. So, I mean, it's possible it doesn't work out, but maybe I think it's most likely that it does. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Dave Bautista is currently in negotiations now to play Kratos in the God of War series, taking over for Ryan Hurst, who ripped up his bicep. Now, they've got a lot of catching up to do, but they've got time. Do you like the idea of it? Do you think Dave can get that muscle back on? Would you be okay with him maybe not looking as big as we picture Kratos, but having a guy with the acting talent that Dave Bautista brings to the camera? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Well, you know, a couple years ago, this little Christmas movie with David Harbour came out called Violent Night, and it looks stupid. And so I then sat down and watched it because I like David Harbour. I like David Harbour very much. So I decided we're going to watch this. I watched it, and the movie is dumb, but to my shock and surprise, I really ended up enjoying it. Like I had more fun with it than I thought I would. And I was shocked to see that, generally speaking, other people quite liked it too. It ended up with a far above what you would expect, 74% critic rating and 88% audience rating. And despite the fact that it looked really stupid, it ended up to me being quite entertaining. Well, at CinemaCon, they showed us a trailer. For some reason, they decided to do a sequel, and they showed us a sequel to Violent Night 2. And now that sequel is out and available for public consumption. And not only is David Harbour back, Veronica Mars is back too, as Mrs. Claus. And the trailer's out, and here's my kind of thoughts on the trailer. Much like the first Violent Night, this trailer looks stupid. I'm sorry. Go ahead, make my sleigh. What?
But it's so aware of itself. It's so aware of itself.
That's the thing, right? It plays it like it is completely self-aware. Yeah. And dude, again, if this was in a vacuum, guys, if there was no first Violent Night and this trailer just came out, I would have the same reaction that I had to the first Violent Night trailer. I would just look at this trailer in vacuum and go, this does not look very good. This looks really dumb. And so I'm watching this trailer again, and I'm like, this trailer looks dumb. The movie doesn't look very good, until I remembered that this is the exact same feeling I had with the trailer to the first film. I ended up actually kind of loving the first film. And you know what? And it had its moments. The trailer has its moments. and to get freaking Dumbledore's son. Why am I freezing on his name?
Yeah, it's
not Richard, but Richard's son. Oh,
Jared Harris.
Jared Harris. Yeah, Richard Harris's son.
Yeah. I knew it was Harris. I couldn't get the first name.
Jared Harris. Now, at CinemaCon, they showed us a bit of a longer thing, so they fleshed it out a bit more. Jared Harris, for whatever reason, wants to end Christmas, and the way to do that is to kill Santa Claus. And so when he finds out that Santa Claus has lost his powers, well, then boom, he comes out of the woodwork, and now he's hunting down and wants to kill Santa. So I think Jared Harris is a surprising choice for the villain in a movie like this. But it's got its upsides to it. And listen, as bad as the trailer looks to me, I'm going to be there opening night to see this because I like the first one so much. Anyway, Christian, you did not see the first one. So you get to watch this trailer with a little bit more of a clean sheet than I did. What did you think of the trailer for Violent Night 2?
Well, first, I want to say you attempted to remember my son's name and failed quite miserably.
So I had seen,
thank
you. I had seen, the first like 10 minutes of it, and I was watching, this was a Peacock, whatever it might've been. And it wasn't that I didn't like it. It was like, I was watching something else happen. But the first 10 minutes that I saw, I was like, oh, I get it. Like, I get what this movie is. I get what they're going for. And as Jonathan said, they know what they're doing with it. And you can tell with the same guys who did like Nobody and everything, it's the same type of action. And they're playing off the fact that Santa is a freaking action star and brutally murdering the bad guys. Right. And they carry it over. And the answer to why they're doing it again, the first one cost $20 million to make. It made almost $90 million on its first run. Plus it did pretty well on streaming. So you do another one, and Joey Pants has great hair. Look at his hair. Look at that. So I get why they're doing it. It looks like the same type of thing from, like you said, the first movie. And David Harbour's fun, and if they do it right, and it could be one of those. It could be one of those franchises that they just keep making for like $33 and a chocolate bar, and then the next thing you know, it turns a profit because people just, like you said, it looks stupid, but it was fun. And that's what people want to see with this thing.
I gotta say, I think my favorite shot of the trailer. I'm sure there's going to be much bigger, more over the top moments in the movie itself. But when Kristen Bell as Mrs. Claus just puts the sword over her shoulder, and her husband pushes the guy's throat against it and just runs his throat down along there. Which there it is. Right, she's just holding the sword to help him murder a guy. I'm like, okay, that's fun. I'm down. Sign me up. It might not break Spider-Man's box office record, but it looks like fun.
All right, guys. Totally stupid, but when he hits that guy with the cookie cutter and then the little piece of meat is on the ground,
is it gross?
It's like, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Question is for you. Did you see the trailer for Violent Night 2? I really liked the first one, I have to admit. And I thought the trailers for both looked kind of stupid, but like I said, I ended up really liking the first one. Did you like it? Did you like the first movie? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we got Christian here, so we thought this might be a good opportunity for us to play a little game of what's more likely. The way it works is really simple. We asked you guys to send in some what's more likely scenarios. We picked out a bunch that we like. Jonathan's got them gathered up there in front of him right now. So Jonathan, what do we got up first?
All right. Our first question here is coming from Isaac Matthew Sanchez. We're going to go over to, we'll start with Christian on this. Christian, what's more likely in this scenario? Paw Patrol, the Dino movie, or Coyote versus Acme making more money?
This is a sure thing Vegas bet. You go and you put everything you have on Paw Patrol. Paw Patrol is something that has just crossed over to many different generations, and I can tell you that when it comes to my kids, both my 15-year-old and my 8-year-old, they both have watched these movies, and they both said when I have the screen, they both have aged out of it. But when this came out, they're like, oh, they'll see it because this was what they grew up with. The kids that are going to see these movies now, now what's going to be the better movie? the Coyote and the Roadrunner, but the actual movie that's going to make the money is Paw Patrol.
You know, here's the thing. I want to say Coyote versus Acme.
Yeah.
That's what I want to say. But when you look at the data, the last Paw Patrol movie, which is not necessarily a reflection of what the new one will do, but I believe the last Paw Patrol movie made over $200 million. The last Looney Tunes movie, the Day the Earth Blew Up, made $15 million. Let me repeat that. The last Paw Patrol movie made about $200 million. The last Looney Tune movies made $15 million. Now, I fully expect that because the last trailer was so good, I do think that Coyote versus Acme is going to make significantly more than Earth Blew Up. But yeah, I have to agree with Christian on this. I think it is probably a, mortgage your house and put it all on Vegas on this. It's probably going to be Paw Patrol.
You know what it is also, John, is the fact that for both those movies, even though they're both, you feel kids can both see them, you can take a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old to see Paw Patrol. Right. You can't do that with Coyote versus Acme because of it's a little more of a detailed story. It'll probably just kind of, they'll look at the animated stuff and maybe they'll be locked in. But for the most part, Paw Patrol is just the show come to life on screen, and there's not a lot of stuff to bring a 4 to 7-year-old to in the theater right now. And I think that it's got a bigger brand name right now, not all time, but today Paw Patrol is the bigger name.
Yeah, no
and
kids today know who.
Yeah,
and no kids today know who Tweety Pie is.
No,
they don't know who Tweety Pie is. So I mean, there's that. All right, what do we got up next?
Okay, next up, John, we're going to go over to you on this one from Spacey Casey, Don Cheadle, Samuel L. Jackson, or Jeremy Renner returning for Doomsday. What's more likely? Or Secret Wars, it says.
You know what? That's a great question. Okay, only because of the most recent comments from Jeremy Renner, I'm going to say Jeremy Renner. Now, you guys remember that a while ago, Jeremy Renner made some comments about, I don't know if I'm going to do another Hawkeye. They want to pay me something that's way under what I think I'm worth, blah, blah, blah. There was that. But then like a month or two later, he was singing a totally different song. He was like, no, I'm ready to get back in there. I'm training back up to get back in the physical shape to be Hawkeye. I'll be back, blah, blah, blah. Now, whether that means it's going to be in Secret Wars or not, I don't know. But I mean, I'm not sure with, I almost called it Iron Giant, but with Iron Wars kind of now being on the back burner, if not gone entirely, and we haven't seen Samuel Jackson in a bit. By the way, I do think we'll see Samuel Jackson back. I do. But I'm going to say it is more likely, because it could be all three, could be none of them. I'm going to say it's more likely, Christian, that it will be Jeremy Renner. What do you think?
Well, I think it's more likely that all three of them are going to be in both, probably Secret Wars for all three of them. But if we're going with one, I actually think it'll be Sam Jackson.
That makes sense.
Well, because he doesn't say no. so I mean, there's a reason and he doesn't say no for a good reason. Everything he says yes to, he's making millions upon millions of dollars. He's in 75 different franchises, and there's no world. I mean, this is a guy who got his hand chopped off. No, and he's like, I'll come back. Sure, why not? and so he'll be back. He's the more likely one. I think that Don Cheadle will also be back, but if I was going to rank them, I'd go Sam Jackson, Jeremy Renner, and then Don Cheadle.
All right. What's next?
All right, Christian. This is from Brendan Goggin. What's more likely, Starfighter makes more or less than a $100 million opening weekend?
So the answer should be, if it's going to be over, and if it isn't, then Lucasfilm should pack up and Disney should sell to Apple. If they don't make $100 million on this movie, because the movie's going to cost at least $200 million.
Well, they're saying opening weekend. They're saying opening weekend.
I know. I'm saying no, but a Star Wars movie not making $100 million opening weekend. I'm not talking about Mandalorian and Grogu. That doesn't count. The other movies that have actually theatrically been made for theatrical release have dominated, and it's really going to put the Star Wars brand to test here, because they I will say stupidly, put out this Mandalorian and Grogu movie and damaged the anticipation of another Star Wars movie in theaters again, because they didn't have one from 2019. If they didn't have anything, they should have waited, because the buzz on this thing has been pretty good so far. I mean, hell, Sean Levy got the Ghost Rider because Kevin Feige saw it, raved about it. People have been seeing. I've also heard things. I don't know, John, if you've heard it too, but I've heard people have seen it, and people who have been disappointed with Star Wars have said pretty good. And so you need it to do really well, because you need people to care again, because it used to be in sports comparisons, it was baseball in the 50s. It was America's pastime. It isn't. It is the least of the brands that people get excited about now, and they've damaged it to a place that they need to have a big weekend of over 100. So I'm going to say that this movie does do 100. I think the buzz will be there, but if it doesn't, Star Wars is in big trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to agree with you that it is far more likely that it makes over 100. I'm going to disagree slightly that if it comes in under, that it's game over, because, I mean, Avatar opened to under 100 million. Right. Not an apples to apples comparison.
It depends on what it's going up against too.
Yeah. And the two other times that a Star Wars film did not open, like in recent years, that didn't open to over 100 million. You're talking Solo, A Star Wars Story, which was a bad idea from day one. I like the movie, but it was a bad idea to make it right from day one. And Mandalorian and Grogu, which opened to like 82 or 83 million, which you and I both think was a terrible idea.
Right, and they both lost money though. But both lost money.
And Mandalorian and Grogu was coming off of a weak third season. It was just a continuation of it. Sure. However, you're looking at Starfighter, okay? Kevin Feige just said, I saw the movie and it's fantastic. And you know he meant it, because he went out and got the duo that does it, and he got them to come over and do Ghost Rider. So there's that. You're going to have Ryan Gosling, who's riding high right now, like riding extremely high right now, especially coming off Project Hail Mary, with the announcements of Ghost Rider and all that kind of stuff. People are excited. Last time Sean Levy made a movie, I don't know, it made $1.3 billion at the box office, so that did pretty well. So how big will the next movie be? Let's get a little closer, but opening to 100 million? Yeah, I'm not going to say Spider-Man 360 million, but opening to 100 million, I think it is. If Mandalorian and Grogu, guys, can open to 83, Starfighter will definitely open to over 100. How much over, I'm not sure, but it'll open to over 100. All right, what do we got next?
Okay, next up, let's see. I think we're going to stick with you, John, on this one. This is from Miker. What's more likely in this situation or scenario, an X-Men cast announcement first or a Brave and the Bold cast announcement?
I hate answering these questions from a place of skepticism, but I don't know if they're within miles of being ready to announce casting for Batman Brave and the Bold. There's a chance they've already got their Batman, but I think they're still far off from having a script ready and in place. And by the way, I'm not convinced they have their director. They say they've got their director, but you guys know that for over a year, I've had my doubts that he would actually stay on to direct it. So on the other hand, we have X-Men coming. We know it's going to start shooting probably early in 2027. They're in pre-production on some things already. They've got their cast. I don't think, guys, that they're going to announce the cast at like D23. I don't think they're going to start making big cast announcements for a while. About it. I think they're going to want to keep the attention on the old X-Men cast coming up in Doomsday. But I'm going to have to say right now, Christian, I think it is more likely that we get the X-Men cast first before we get the Brave and the Bold cast. I don't know that for a fact, but that's what I'm guessing is more likely. What do you think?
It's pretty much a fact. Because you look at it, I mean, first of all, I'm with you. I don't even think the Brave and the Bold is going to happen in the same way that Booster Gold's happened. Just kidding. Every these things, it's not. I don't think it's going to happen. I agree with you. I don't think Muschietti's going to be there. I think there's a lot of different things. One, the Batman Part 2, they're waiting, they're holding, that's the priority for Batman right now, and anything else too. They're waiting for that thing to come out. Also, they still don't know what the hell's going to happen with who's calling what shots in the future of the DCU with Paramount happening, not happening. any of that stuff. So too much is up in the air right now. We still don't even know anything about Wonder Woman or any of those things, or where the direction of the DCU is going. And they're putting a lot of, and as they should, everything is in Man of Tomorrow. What's happening with Man of Tomorrow? So they got to let that happen. We know X-Men's happening. We just got Emma Frost just got announced. So that kind of already started that. Then there's rumors already. The rumor mill is already moving with Cyclops and other things, and Beast, and it's already all out there. So that's going to start trickling in pretty soon, and especially as we start to get to Doomsday and past that, because the plan is pushing forward. Kevin Feige's already talking about the X-Men in the movies, and there's already hints of that they are really the next game in town. So it's X-Men.
All right, what's next?
All right, this is our final scenario. It's coming from Zachary Holm. Christian, what's more likely, Spider-Man Brand New Day being the #1 film of 2026 or Avengers Doomsday?
Man, you definitely asked me this question when I'm going to almost put my foot in my mouth, because I was pretty damn confident in saying there was going to be our first $3 billion movie ever this year. And I was like, and I said, if it's good, and it's solid, and people go back and it has a big, huge opening weekend, it's got a shot to do 3. And I thought it was nuts, because Endgame had got to 2.8 or 2.9, whatever it did.
Got within a whisper of 3 billion.
Yeah. And I said, I know we're not in that same year. I get it, but it should show that if people are still excited to go to the movie theater, it could happen. I just got the wrong movie. And when it came to Spider-Man, I thought Spider-Man was going to tap out at like 1.7, 1.8. It's going to do 1.7, 1.8 probably next weekend. So I think by the time we get to, I'm kidding, but as far as like what you're going to, I mean, they already hit $1 billion in like a little over a weekend. It's crazy. So you have an opportunity for that movie to be 3 billion. So what do I think is going to make more? Oh, I hate to say, because I'm going to go against my own prediction. I think Spider-Man will just beat it, but Spider-Man will be the bigger movie overall. But I'm hoping it's Endgame, because then, I mean, or Doomsday, because then I won't look like an imbecile.
Yeah, listen, I am the same in the same boat that I said, look, Spider-Man Brand New Day is easily going to be $1 billion film. It's going to be a huge hit, but come on, pump the brakes on this $2 billion talk, you foolish peasants. Yeah. Who's the idiot now? This thing now,
these beggars out of there.
Yeah, it's no longer. I said on the show yesterday, Christian, it's no longer a question of if Spider-Man gets to 2 billion. Now the question is, how fast does it get to 2 billion?
Right.
However, I also have been saying this: the biggest influence on Avengers Doomsday box office, for good or for ill, is going to be Spider-Man Brand New Day. I said, if Spider-Man Brand New Day comes out and kind of disappoints, it's going to suck all the air out of the sails of the building enthusiasm for the MCU again. And it's not going to kill Doomsday, but it'll hurt. But I said, on the other hand, with building off the momentum that we've had recently of things like Wonder Man, of things like Thunderbolts and whatnot, if Spider-Man Brand New Day is great, it's going to triple down that enthusiasm. It's going to triple the momentum. It's going to really push things solidly. And I'm still of that same mind. As big as Spider-Man is going to be, Doomsday will be bigger. And part of the reason it's going to be bigger is because of how good Spider-Man Brand New Day is, because of how popular Spider-Man Brand New Day is, and because of how much excitement and momentum that Spider-Man Brand New Day has caused. So when Doomsday, guys, comes out and it enjoys a new record-setting opening weekend, like it may or may not set the record for opening weekend because it's opening week 1 against Dune 3 week 1, unlike Spider-Man, which got to open against Odyssey in its 3rd week. So it may or may not break the opening weekend box office, but when Doomsday opens huge, the Russo brothers better be sending a big, fat chocolate bouquet care package to Destin Daniel Cretton's door and say, thank you so much, because you're part of the reason this happened. So I'm going to remain on the Doomsday will be the biggest film of 2026 boat.
Look, it's certainly possible with the IP that Doomsday has. Here's the only thing that Doomsday has going against it that Spider-Man didn't, right? Spider-Man has no competition right now. It's got no competition. It's going to basically, I mean, it's got Odyssey and it's in week 3,
Third
and
week.
it's already the third week, and it's already, done what it's done with Odyssey being in the theater. So it's got nothing coming out. Also is now going to start putting more money because the IMAX screening is opening up. So that's going to make even more money on those. Doomsday does not have IMAX at all, and it's also going up against Dune.
Yep.
So that's going to hurt it. And the other thing that Spider-Man has going for it that we don't know if Doomsday has going for it yet is not only does it have a big word of mouth from critics of what that 89 to 90% or whatever it has, it had when it first came out from scores, it was like a 98% from the audience. So it's got to also have that. If it doesn't have that, if it opens up and people are like, it's fine, it's just, it's nostalgia bait, it's okay, that's not going to get it even close to Spider-Man.
Oh, no, not at all. Yeah. Because the thing that's going to drive Spider-Man, like the reason I'm saying the big opening weekend isn't why I say that it's not if, it's when it gets to 2 billion. The reason I say it's when it gets to 2 billion is because the movie is so good. Spider-Man Brand New Day is so
wants
good.
To see it.
Not only everybody wants to see it, everyone wants to see it 3, 4, or 5 times.
Right.
And when they go their 3rd or 4th time, they're dragging their friends. It's like, you haven't seen Spider-Man Brand New Day yet? All right, let's go. Like Ann and I are going to see it again tonight, and we've got a couple people we're dragging along that hasn't seen it. It's if all other things being equal, if Doomsday can deliver the same way the Russo brothers in the MCU have delivered with Winter Soldier and Civil War and Infinity War and Endgame. Yeah. If they can deliver on that par, then we're talking. Of course, though, if we go to watch Doomsday and we walk out going, well, that changes everything, right? That completely. But all other things being equal, I'm going to keep my horses attached to Doomsday on this for now. Okay. And all right, guys. That will wrap up today's session of What's More Likely. Thank you to all you guys who sent in those scenarios. Keep your eyes open on the YouTube channel for when we put out our next call for submissions, and maybe you'll see your What's More Likely scenario featured on our next round. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Well, speaking of Spider-Man, yesterday, of course, here on the channel, we talked about the insane historic event that happened that I honestly thought never would. Avengers Endgame made $357 million on its opening weekend by about 100 million being ahead of the second place thing. It was a record that, quite frankly, if you had asked, I thought maybe would never be broken, and Spider-Man Brand New Day beat it by $3 million, coming in at 360. But lest any of us think, well, that was just a good opening weekend, Tom Holland says, nah, because according to Deadline, Spider-Man Brand New Day has just had the biggest Monday in the history of the box office. The biggest single day Monday ever in the history of the box office, with $46 million. Now, to put that into perspective, as we look at this was the list of the biggest Mondays in history. At number 5 was Avengers Endgame that had made $36.8 million on its Monday. Lilo and Stitch surprisingly made $37 million, but the Lilo and Stitch one, that was, I believe, a Memorial Day Monday. So that's why you see it's a little bit higher than you think it would be. Spider-Man No Way Home had a $37 million first Monday. Star Wars The Force Awakens had a $40.1 million Monday. Black Panther had a $40.15 Monday. But now we can see that Spider-Man Brand New Day had a $46 million Monday. Also of note, internationally speaking, Spider-Man Brand New Day has now become the 4th officially movie of 2026 to join the $1 billion club, and it did so officially in 6 days. That makes it the 2nd fastest ever to hit $1 billion. The fastest movie worldwide to hit $1 billion was, of course, Avengers Endgame, which did it 1 day faster. It did it 1 day faster internationally. So these numbers just keep piling up, and they just keep rolling in the echoes of Marvel is dead that we've heard for so long, and comic book movie fatigue and all this sort of stuff. Guy, I want you to wrap your heads around. Sometimes I fear some piece of data comes up and we just glance by it quickly. This movie made $46 million on a single Monday. That is more than most movies make in their opening weekend.
Yeah.
And it made $46 million on a Monday, beating the previous record. But let me pull this number up again. So I want you to look at number 1, Black Panther, number 5, Avengers Endgame. A difference of about $3.2 million. Okay? From number 1 to 5, the difference is only about $3.2 million. Spider-Man Brand New Day is $6 million ahead of Black Panther. Almost double what number 5 difference is to number 1. Like these are crazy numbers, guys. These are insane numbers that we're seeing this. So I think, Christian, I was probably also of the belief that this is a comic book movie. This huge, massive award-winning weekend, great. And second weekend is also going to be huge. But I thought like the Monday through Thursday crowd, I was honestly expecting 35, 34 million. Like, again, massively huge, but it's like people are just desperate to see it not only again, but see it again quickly. And they're getting back into the theaters on Monday. What do you attribute this amazing holdover from the weekend into its first weekday?
Hey, I don't want to go on the weekend. I want to go on Monday when it's not too crowded. Want to go?
Yeah, when it's not too crowded.
And then that didn't work out. But I think people have that idea, thinking like what you thought. It won't be too bad during the week. Well, let's go check it out. And then, or they go back and they want to see it a bunch of different times. I also very curious, like, what is the best Tuesday ever? And what's today going to be like? Because
I'll tell you, because I'm seeing it later today.
How crowded it's going to be later.
Yeah. And I want to know, like, what the Tuesdays numbers were, because when I was on my show, I was talking about this, and I said that, the drop off could be, if they have like a drop off, because we were talking about that 3 billion number. And it's like, if they have a drop off, like, because the Odyssey had like a 29% drop or whatever.
It was crazy.
Something crazy. If they have a smaller drop like that, and that's a hard thing to do, because
it's not possible. I'll go on the record. It is not possible that it takes a 29% drop. Just
29,
too many
probably
people
not.
have seen it already.
Right. But repeat viewing and everything too with it. But I wouldn't say not possible again, because it's the same thing I told the commenter. I said, is it unlikely? It's unlikely, but not possible. I didn't think Spider-Man making $1 billion opening weekend was possible. It was tracking for 550. And then it tracked a little bit higher at 800. But I just feel like this movie is doing things in a way because everybody wants to see it. Everybody wants, as you said, it's like, it is this huge event. So what is the week? If a Monday is 46 million, what the hell's the weekend going to look like again? So I'm not saying impossible. I think 29 is very unlikely. I think you're looking more at like, 45 to 50. Maybe that would be that'd be great.
Well, that would be in
$500 million.
People have to understand, for a movie to open as big as Spider-Man Brand New Day, if it drops only 50%,
$500 million, what it would have done what it was projected to do.
It would be crazy. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't remind everybody. If we go back to the last Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man No Way Home, which up until recently had the second biggest opening weekend in history at $260 million. It had a nearly 70% drop on weekend 2. Yeah. Everybody loved the movie.
Right.
Yeah, but for movies, because so many people saw it.
Right.
I think that number is why I like to take a 29% drop at this size.
But John, if I can combat that just a little bit.
Sure.
The only thing with No Way Home was that it was 2021. Pandemic stuff was still kind of going on. That's part one. Part two is IMAX had already come out at the same time. It was released at the same exact time. They're doing this thing because they basically said, "Hey, Odyssey, beat it. We're putting Spider-Man there now in IMAX." And when did the IMAX screening start for that one?
This week.
This week,
I believe Thursday. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Is that it's usually.
But remember, it's only about 200 screens. It's only about 200 screens.
Yeah.
That it's getting, and it's not getting the 70 millimeter screens.
They'll be sold out.
They will probably be sold out.
I can tell you my 4 o'clock today, there's only the 2 front rows are available. I just looked. But the 7:30 is almost full. And I looked at non-Dolby. I looked at the others, and the prime times are all almost full. And that's a Tuesday.
So. But I want to remind everybody, if Spider-Man takes a 50% drop, you are still talking. Okay, think about this. If it takes a 50% drop, that means $180 million second weekend. That $180 million second weekend, I believe, would be good enough to be a top 15 opening weekend of all time.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
well,
that's
and if it's worldwide, you're looking at like close to like 500 million. That's what they projected it at in the first place. Can you imagine if it makes $500 million in its second weekend?
Second weekend?
That'd be crazy.
I just think we as film fans, something like this comes along and we're just quick to just go on numbers. Guys, this is something you really got to pause and appreciate.
Yeah.
Like this is huge.
What it also is, and I always have an issue when people do that. What do you care about the numbers for, the box office for? You're not the one paying for it, because it dictates a lot of different things. And what this movie shows, with how many people are going to see it, it's the quality of the movie and showing that audiences would like to be treated with respect, meaning show us characters, show us development, show us emotion, show us those things inside the package of a big blockbuster movie. It works. It helps. You don't need a monster of the week every 3 seconds in order to just, popcorn in the face. I'm not saying that those movies sometimes aren't fun, but this in general, when you put that kind of love and effort into it, you see why people are spending their money on it. And you see like where, and the opposite of that is when you put, if you're a big fan of something, like for me, I'm a big Masters of the Universe fan. I don't like the movie. I don't like this movie that just came out. I know that a lot of people love it. I didn't like it and like the approach that they did. And because of it, I also think that many other reasons why we're not going to see another one, because it did shitty at the box office. And if it did well at the box office, as a fan, if you love that movie, and you're like, why didn't more people see it? That's why you should be paying attention to the numbers.
Yeah. The box office is the literal language that the studios hear from us. It tells us what marketing worked, what didn't work, what were people interested in, what is likely now to happen with future trends. Like I get that all the time too, Chris. Like, why do you care? It's not your money. It's because not the box office, but it's because what the box office tells us, and more
and what they're going to be making
tells the studios.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're telling the studios they want more Spider-Man. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Spider-Man, brand new day, on the heels of having the biggest opening weekend of all time, has just had the single biggest Monday in the history of cinema, and it became the second fastest film in history to join the $1 billion club. What's the roof for this? I don't even know what the ceiling for this is right now. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, guys, let's move on and talk about this. There are certain things everybody agrees on. We agree that children are precious. We agree that puppies are adorable. And we agree that all the Sony Spider-Man villain movies are awesome. We all, no, obviously being a bit facetious here, but we've had a lot of Sony Spider-Man less villain movies. And you know what? I don't care what anybody says. I'll still stand by it. I love Venom. I even liked Venom 2. Venom 3, not so much. But the Venom movies, contrary to popular belief, I did an editorial on this where I broke down all the numbers a while ago. The Venom movies were very profitable for Sony. However, they convinced me that Morbius was going to be really good, because I thought the trailers for Morbius were great. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to change history. I thought the trailers for Morbius looked really good. And I was excited for that movie, and it sucked. I remember the early word that didn't end up being the actual story, but I remember the early word of what the Madam Web story was going to be, which sounded a little bit like Spider-Man crossed with Terminator. And I thought, you know what, this could be really intriguing. This could be real. Oh, no. But then came Craven. And I'm like, this time, they're going to do it. This movie is going to be awesome, I thought. This looks great. Aaron Taylor Johnson, Ricky Tikki Taki is going to be fantastic in this. This is going to be great. And they punched me in the balls again. And you think I would have learned after the first two, but they did not. Now, oddly enough, in this time, we have not heard much about what's going to be their next, I don't know, Paul Giamatti coming back for a Rhino standalone movie? Maybe, who knows? But apparently now the Sony boss is saying, we're not making any more.
He tapped out.
At least we're tapping out, at least for now. At least for now. This is what Rothman had to say in an interview with Variety. Variety asked him, I was curious about the status of Sony's Marvel characters because, in which Rothman replied, you and everybody else. The interviewer went on to say, the Venom trilogy was huge, but other spin-offs like Kraven the Hunter and Madam Web and Morbius were misfires. Why didn't those work? And he says probably the right thing to say. He says, ultimately, the audience wasn't satisfied enough with them because they sucked. Whether that's a fair assessment of those movies, who knows? That's howling into the wind. The audience is the boss, and they didn't respond. It's as simple as that. Oh, and I don't know, you went out and hired the proven worst screenwriters in the industry to keep coming back and write more. That might have had something to do with it, but I digress. I'm interpreting here. That led us to the big question. Are there plans to keep developing Sony's universe of Marvel characters? To which he says, right now, we don't know. We never looked at it as the Sony Marvel universe. Actually, you really did. You referred to it as that several times a few years ago. But at any rate, we never looked at it as the Sony Marvel universe. We looked at it as if there were worthwhile movies to make with other characters. At the moment, there are none in active development. Now, before we dive into it with any kind of depth, I just want to double down on something here. You're seeing a lot of headlines this morning reading, it's official, Sony cancels their Marvel Spider-Verse movies. It's done, blah, blah, blah. If we want to be accurate and specific, he's saying we don't have any more planned right now. So that might mean they don't make any more. It might mean in 1 year they come out and announce 3 new movies. We don't know. But what we can say for sure and is accurate is to say that at the moment, they don't have any plans for new ones right now. But he certainly did not say that we're never going to go back to it. Maybe they don't, maybe they do, but just want to make sure we're clear on what it is he's saying here. Now, it's not a coincidence that I think this answer is coming on the heels of Sony hearing the bank numbers rolling in for Spider-Man and hearing that cash register cha-ching going off again and again and again. Because remember, Spider-Man Brand New Day is Sony's movie, despite the fact that Marvel's the one who produced it, and they are going to do a profit share on this movie. So they are going to be making the technical term is in the banking world, a shit ton of money on this Spider-Man movie. And of course, they've got their Academy Award winning franchise, Spider-Man Spider-Verse stuff rolling out. And so it's understandable. But here's the big question though. As far as I understand the deal, and I just recently did an editorial on understanding the Spider-Man rights. You can find it on the YouTube channel. It stipulates that a Spider-Man movie needs to be in production I can't remember the exact time frame, but it's every couple of years. You have to be in production of a new one.
Right.
Not for nothing, Marvel produced Spider-Man movies like Spider-Man Brand New Day count towards resetting the clock. And with this one just hitting theaters right now, they do have some time to make up their mind if they want to go into production on another one or another animated film or whatever. So there's all that. To me though, guys, I got to say that the lesson from Morbius, Madam Web, and Kraven is not that you can't make high quality and successful standalone movies with these characters from the Spider-Verse. It's that you've got to make good movies because none of them were good. It's not a coincidence that these movies did badly and they all happen to be absolute garbage. Like, that's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that the first Venom, which I thought was wildly entertaining, made over $800 million at the box office. The lesson is not, oh, movies with Spider-Man characters without Spider-Man can't work. That's not the lesson they should be taking away here. It's that you guys made every conceivable mistake possible in making those movies, from the casting to who's writing to all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's a no-brainer. So my guess is, Christian, I think by the end of 2027, I think by the time we get to Avengers Secret Wars, I do think we'll hear an announcement of Sony producing another movie. And listen, not for nothing, and I know this is an unpopular thing to say, but I don't care. The 3 best Spider-Man movies ever made were all made by Sony. To me, in my opinion, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, Into the Spider-Verse, and Across the Spider-Verse. I think those are still the 3 greatest Spider-Man movies ever made. I think Brand New Day is the best of the Tom Holland era ones. So I believe they can make great movies. They can, but I think the failure of these other films had more to do with their failures as films and not the fact that they happen to be Spider-Man characters. So anyway, Christian, couple of questions for you on this. Number one, what do you take away from the comments here? Because I think these are some pretty interesting things he says. And then secondly, do you believe that's it? Or do you believe, like me, that at some point that we will get announcements about new movies they're going to do? What do you think?
Well, listening to Rothman's comments, it reminds me, like, my grandmother used to say this actually too. That guy's full of shit. And like, there's a lot of stuff that he was saying that, like, where you called him out and you said, well, we didn't ever really call it that. Well, what about when you guys were doing the Sinister Six and you guys were gonna design everything around that? That's kind of what that is. But yeah, and it's also, they didn't respond to it because you guys were lazy. You got, like you said, you got, how do we cut costs on screenwriters and this and that, and how do we do that? And it goes back to what we were discussing when it comes to treating the audience with respect and saying, you could see it in the boardroom. Oh, they'll love this. You put them in put the lion thing on them, and then we'll cut a cool trailer. They'll go and see it. They buy all this shit. Any comic book thing, they go and see it. It'll be fine. It'll make money. And it's like, no, it won't, because the difference was, as you mentioned, the teams. You got to have a great team. There's a reason besides it. It's not just, well, they don't have Marvel, they don't have MCU, and that's why they don't have the Feige and those guys, and that's why it didn't succeed. Well, Lord and Miller say otherwise. That team that they put over there, they knew what they were making. And it's the main thing, the same thing with Feige and the same thing with Lord and Miller. They understand the content. They understand what it is, and they're fans of it. When you have people who are just hired guns to come in to write, hey, you want to write a comic book movie? And they come in and then they give the standard, oh, I used to love this thing. What is this? Oh, yeah, Morbius. I love it. And you're like, you don't. And by the way, the only thing with that movie that was pretty great was the first time I had ever seen Adria Arjona. So thanks for that. But the actual movie itself was shit. The rest of those movies were shit because they didn't care. And you could see that they didn't care, and they didn't put enough effort into it, and it wasn't written well, and it was, so you can do these things. But you have to try to coordinate with Marvel and spin off things to make people care. I won't spoil Brand New Day, but there's stuff that happens within Brand New Day that will help carry over to the future of Marvel. And there are characters within that movie that when they pop up now in other movies, you're going to be invested because you were invested in the story that they had in Brand New Day. Mm-hmm. And that's what you need to do in order to spin off things. You got to make me care, not just because, oh yeah, Spider-Man, passed by this guy one time and gave him a nod. Full movie. It's like, no one cares. You got to make me care. And they can do it, but they've got to treat the audience and the property with respect.
Yeah, I mean, here's a wild thing. I remember when I did this editorial on the finances of it. I mean, and guys, I know this is going to sound unbelievable, but we broke down all the numbers. You can go and check it yourself. Here's a crazy thing. When you count Madam Web, Morbius, and Kraven, do you know that Sony has actually made profit on all their movies? Like, not counting the Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield ones. I'm talking about Venoms 1, 2, and 3, the 3 aforementioned shitbags, and the 2 Spider-Verse movies.
That was the working title, by the way. After the shitbags.
Yeah. For some reason they decided to change it.
They changed it.
They actually ends up profitable, which is crazy to think about. But still, I think you're right, Christian. You have to approach each one of these movies as you would any other project. Yeah. And you've got to approach, like, you want to build a cinematic universe. fine. Then there's some other mistakes they made too. But just make a great standalone movie. Just make this movie good. And if
John,
they
let me ask
do
you a
that,
question.
they can work.
John, I don't know if you know this because I keep asking this question. I have not got an answer to it. Maybe you know. So I always felt like, speaking of spin-off stuff and where Sony owns Spider-Man, I thought that when they did No Way Home, and they basically made Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man so beloved again in that movie.
He's my favorite.
The arc that he had was tremendous. And then by bringing back Toby, and they set up almost like this buddy relationship between the two of them, I don't know why they didn't already have in development a movie with the two of them, a double Spider-Man movie with the two of them. I don't know if it's a deal that Disney says you can't do another Spider-Man while Tom Holland's thing is still going on. I don't know if that's a deal. I have no idea. But how they didn't either greenlight something like that, or a Amazing Spider-Man 3, or a Spider-Man 4 with Tobey Maguire, those are the spin-off movies you can do now, because the difference of it being, it's not as confusing anymore, because when there's the argument of the Batman being confusing with Brave and the Bold, because they're two different universes. You have introduced these two Spider-Men inside of Marvel, so they're part of the characters, so you can spin it off, and that's a spin-off movie. Who wouldn't want to see an Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movie after that, and another Tobey Maguire movie after that? I don't understand why that wasn't put into play.
Your instinct was right. It was, Sony cannot make, because of Disney, they cannot make their own competing live action Spider-Man movie.
That makes sense. Okay.
As long as they're doing that. Now, Sony can say no more live action Spider-Man over being produced by Marvel, and then make their own. But as long as Marvel is producing live action Spider-Man, Marvel and Disney don't want there to be competing live action Spider-Man.
That makes sense.
In another studio.
But
you're right. I would go see both. Right. I would totally go see both. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, right now the Sony chairman is saying, yeah, we don't have any more Spider-Verse kind of movies planned over at Sony for now. Like, maybe that becomes a permanent thing. I mean, they got the new Spider-Verse movie coming out. That's going to reset the clock. The new Spider-Man's here. They're probably going to already in the planning stages for the next live action Spider-Man. Or maybe, as I think, they will announce a new one by the end of 2027. Maybe yes, maybe no. Whatever you guys think about this, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. And all right, guys, with that down, it's time for us to move on to the most important part of our show, which is, of course, taking your live comments and questions. But before we do, we want to bid good afternoon to Christian Harloff, ladies and gentlemen. Christian, thank you so much for being here. And listen, what do you got going on right now? You're working on a little something right now.
Yeah, right now, I mean, look, we the channel, obviously, we're building up, and we're launching our Kickstarter in September for this pilot that I wrote, and we're really excited about it. We're trying to basically take the power out of the hands of the studios, John, and kind of do our own thing the way that, Marky Plier, Stuckman, the people that did Obsession, and we're making a move with the audience. So if you want to help and join, we're going to be launching in September. Thanks for asking me.
All right, we'll keep our eyes on that. And of course, Jonathan Voico, we'll talk to you tomorrow, sir.
All right, I'll see everybody tomorrow.
And now, guys, let's get over to your live comments and questions here, shall we? Just so you know, as I said earlier in the show, we turned off the super chats like 5 minutes into the show because they are really overfull right now. So I'm going to try to get through these as best as I can. And we're going to start off with our friend Isaac Sanchez, who writes, John and crew, it's officially my birthday. Well, happy birthday to you, my friend. May you have a glorious day and year ahead of you, filled with greatness and victory. Happy birthday to you, my friend. All right, Mark writes, hey, John, do you think there's a chance of the MCU X-Men getting introduced and announced in MCU projects? Banshee and Ghost Rider, Storm and Black Panther 3? I don't think so. There's not a lot more MCU projects coming before we get an X-Men movie, right? Like, we just got Jean Grey, obviously. We're probably going to get introduced to one or two in Secret Wars. But do we get our first, like, our full X-Men lineup meeting them? I don't think so. By the way, everybody keeps seeing Storm and Black Panther 3. I don't think so. Number one, this isn't T'Challa. In the MCU, T'Challa died. This is T'Challa Jr., who's a completely different person. T'Challa Jr. never had a romance with Aurora in the comic books. So I don't think they're going to do that. Now, I don't know they're not going to do that. Maybe they do. My guess is that they don't. I don't think there's any need to do that. Besides, the romance between T'Challa and Storm is only known by about 1 or 2% of the movie going public. So I don't think it's really something that's big and in demand. Plus, I don't think they want to introduce Storm. Like, that is a story for advanced stuff, right? That, like, Storm's relationship with Black Panther, that is something that you do after a long established Storm and a long established T'Challa. That's what gives it its meaning. I don't think you introduce Storm into that situation. Again, just my guess. I could totally be wrong, and I won't lose any sleep if I am. That's my guess. I don't think they'll do that. All right. Next up, Cutter Hale writes, do you have any interest in One Night Only? I'm actually going to go see it on Thursday, or Super Troopers 3. I'm actually looking forward to seeing both this weekend. Violent Night 2 looks fun. I'm going to admit I'm not all that interested in Super Troopers 3. Listen, a couple of my friends love those other movies. They never really made me laugh all that much. Anyway, this one might be great, but I am looking forward to One Night Only. I first thought at CinemaCon that the trailer looked stupid, but I've been brought around to thinking it actually looks like it has some promise. So Ann and I are going to run out and go see One Night Only this week when it opens on Thursday. And I'm looking forward to checking it out. I hope it's good. All right, next up. James writes, hey, John, it was nice to meet you in New York. Well, if you were at our movie meetup, thank you for coming out to that, man. Fun fact about the Odyssey. One of Odysseus's men was former pro NHL player Sean Avery. Was Sean Avery in one of those scenes? That dude was a son of a bitch. He was one of those players. He's like Draymond Green, if you're a basketball fan. Sean Avery was one of those guys where the fan base hated the guy, but you really wouldn't mind having him on your team. You know, he was one of those guys. So anyway, yeah, I did not know that. I did not know that was him. He was in the movie. All right. Rick writes, hey, John, any news on when we'll be getting the Doomsday Comic-Con trailer? I'm dying to see it. Well, unfortunately, I don't even know if they will ever release it. I mean, there have been some things for some Marvel projects that Marvel releases at a D23 or at a Comic-Con and then later release it to the world. But there have also been some things that they've shown at D23 or a Comic-Con that they never do release. So not only right now am I not aware of any timetable, I'm not 100% sure they'll ever release it. I don't know. I hope they will. I think there's a chance that they will. But as of right now, we don't even know officially if they ever will. I think they should, because that trailer is awesome, man. All right. James writes in again, took my dad to see Spider-Man. He's only seen No Way Home. In prep for Doomsday, what do you consider minimum MCU essential viewing for casual viewers? Nothing. Honestly, I think they've structured Doomsday in such a way that no one's going to feel lost. I really do. I think they've structured it in such a way that I don't think anybody's going to feel lost. Like if you just walk into it, they will very quickly catch everybody up to speed about what's going on. My guess would be only because of how much these characters are going to be featured in the movie. And I'm changing my answer on this all the time. I would say Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four. I think if you watch Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four, then go into Doomsday, I think you're fine. But quite honestly, I think the way they've structured Doomsday, I don't think there's anything that is absolutely essential. Like if you don't watch this, you're going to be completely lost. I don't think that's going to be the case with Doomsday. But if I had to suggest something that might be very helpful, simply because they've never been in other things, I would say Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four. All right, good question, James. Alex Mercer writes, Hedgehog guy here again. Went to go see Spider-Man Brand New Day at Regal Diana Point for the first time in Fort Lauderdale, opening since Brand New Day didn't have IMAX. Yeah, I mean, again, for its opening weekend, Odyssey still had all the IMAX screens. It's still going to have all the 70 millimeter IMAX screens and about half of the other IMAX screens once Spider-Man expands into some of them. But you know what? I went to go see Spider-Man Brand New Day. in the AMC Prime Theater. And to me, that's the best viewing experience anyway. Love IMAX, love IMAX. But I'm more of the Prime Dolby persuasion myself. So I really enjoyed it on that one. Either way, I'm glad you got to see it there, Alex. Alex also right. Took a 2-hour drive there because for Spider-Man, I wanted to go see it in 4DX. Nice, but ended up seeing it in Screen X instead due to tickets being sold. Now, help me out. Is Screen X, help me out in the live chat, guys. Screen X is the one that has the main screen and then the 2 other screens angled on the side, right? Am I right about that or am I wrong about that? Let me know in the live chat. I'll keep my eye down there. So I've never seen a movie in Screen X. Yeah, they're saying yes, that's it. I've never seen a movie. I don't know. I feel like I would find that very distracting, but I thought the same thing about a 4DX, and I actually really had fun in the 4DX. So maybe I will have to check that out at some point. Anyway, I'm glad you got to see it on opening weekend, man. Next up, Hollow Lord writes, hey, John, I saw a Hollywood Reporter online say that Dave Bautista is in talks with Amazon for the recast God of War Kratos. You don't say. Yeah, obviously, if you've watched the show, we did cover that as a topic. I listen, I'm all down for it. I love Dave. I think Dave is a wonderful human being. I think he has really grown and developed as an actor. I don't know if he can get that monstrous physical physique again, because, you know, it's different doing it in your 40s than when you're in your 50s. As a guy in my 50s, I can attest to that. But again, I just think he's terrific. And if it does end up being him, like it looks like it will, I think he'll definitely do a good job. I still think it's a total shame what happened with Ryan, but it's Dave, man. He'll do well. All right. Next up, Raymond Verada writes, R.I.P. Mary Rivera, aka Ned Leeds' Lola. I heard about this in Spider-Man No Way Home. She died of a stroke last April 15th in Honolulu. Yeah, I mean, that was one of my favorite parts of Spider-Man No Way Home, was the Filipino grandmother. And it's so funny because, you know, we're sitting in a theater watching Spider-Man No Way Home, and the Lola, the Filipino grandmother, starts talking in Filipino, and like the audience is quiet, right? The audience is listening, and she's talking in Filipino, and you just hear one voice start laughing hysterically, and it was my wife, Anne, who is, of course, Filipino. And so, like, nobody else knew what she said, and she's talking, and before Ned or anybody translated, Anne starts laughing, which was a kind of a fun experience to have. But yeah, she was absolutely one of the absolute highlights of that movie for me. All right. Let's see here. Jai CSC writes, one of two, some context. My parents are 80 years old, Indian and quite traditional, yet they like the John Campea Show. Oh, thank you so much. So that was on in their car last week's car trip. Hearing the story of your mom taking you to see Star Wars got them talking about their cinema visits as well as the ones with me and my sister. Oh, two, as ones with me and my sister. Yeah, you know, it's funny. I only ever think about, you know, I talk about stories of my mom and things like that. I only think of it as being relatable for those of us who had moms that did the same thing. I never really thought about it from the perspective of parents doing that with their kids. So that's really special, man. Thank you that's really sweet. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. I love hearing that. All right. Next up. Meds writes, could Dune Parts 1 and 2 be re-released ahead of 3 in IMAX? Not in IMAX, because the IMAX screens are booked. The IMAX screens are already booked. A few weeks ago, we ran down the schedule about what's scheduled to be on IMAX screens and stuff like that. So they could re-release Dune 1 and 2. They could. I don't know that they are, but they could. But if they did, it wouldn't be on IMAX screens, because as of right now, everything surrounding that, the IMAX screens are all booked. All right, good question though, Meds. Next up, we got Alex, who writes, my usual go-to theater is AMC, but I'm planning to book a weekend stay at Fort Lauderdale just to watch Brand New Day again at Regal for the 4DX/RPX experience. I've gone to an RPX theater once. It was a really good experience. Like, I go to AMC theaters because that's what's around me. And they are my theater of choice, but I really do like Regal a lot. Regal's great, but I don't have, like, the closest Regal to me is about a half-hour drive away, whereas my AMC is about a 10-minute drive away. But I've gone to their RPX theater once. It was a really good experience, really good time. They got the recliners and the folding tables, and I like that. I liked it a lot. Had a good time with it. All right. Danito writes, is it unlikely Destin will direct Shang-Chi 2 now? I don't know. To me, that's the billion-dollar question. But you know what? George Lucas didn't direct Empire Strikes Back. Captain America went through different directors. It's not the worst thing in the world if Destin doesn't, like, if Destin stays on as a producer and kind of oversees it, it's going to be tough. But he says he's right now actively in development of Shang-Chi 2. So I think it's a 50-50 right now that Destin directs Shang-Chi 2. And if not, they get another director. And like I said, it's not the end of the world. If George Lucas didn't direct Empire Strikes Back, then you can get another director for Shang-Chi 2 with Destin as a producer and still have it work out great. But I certainly hope it ends up being him directing it. I just don't want to wait 4 more years for it. That's all. All right. Ron H writes, this one here. Harloff admitted he watched Halloween 3 times. I think Campea returned. Nah, I'm not interested in it. I've got 50 other things to watch. I'm not looking to add another thing to my list. So I'll move on from that. All right. Sam writes, I walked out of Spidey to the news Samara Weaving as Emma Frost. That's less surprising than the other news embedded in that Emma's a lead role. Yeah, but don't read too much into that. Again, don't read nothing into it, but don't read too much into it. Emma's a lead role in as much that in the original X-Men, Rogue was a lead role. That Famke Janssen as Jean Grey was a lead role. That Halle Berry as Storm was a lead role. That, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine was a lead role. That Magneto was a lead role. And Professor X was a lead role. And yeah, but that doesn't mean she's the center of the movie. So it just means that she's going to be a prominent part of the ensemble. But don't think that that means like she's the lead in the same sense that Jennifer Lawrence is the lead of Hunger Games, right? Don't think of it in the same terms as that. It just means it's not just some little background character. It's going to be a lead character. There could be 7 or 8 or 9 of those, but especially when you're talking about X-Men. All right. Next up, Ron H writes, my bad joke, John, at least it wasn't a Human Centipede. Now that film, I'll never understand the appeal of Human Centipede, although it was kind of crazy that somebody made that, Ron. Christopher Brickner writes, I'm confused. Sony's saying there won't be any more Spider-Man villain films for now. Is that a threat considering how bad they've been? Well, wait a minute. I'll take umbrage with that. I think Venom was great. I even like Venom 2. I don't think Venom 2 was as good as the first Venom, but I thought Venom 2 was actually pretty entertaining too. Venom 3, not so much. But I mean, this is the crazy thing about those movies though. They literally went out, got the 2 writers with literally the worst resume in Hollywood. And look, I feel bad. Like, for all I know, one of their moms watches this show. Look, I don't want it to sound like I'm besmirching them, or maybe they're absolutely wonderful guys, and maybe they have it within them to write other things that are really, really good. I don't want to come across like I'm just sandbagging on them and whatever, but I also have to say how I see it. They not only went out and got 2 guys with like the worst resume. Like, when you went down the list of films they wrote, why would you hire them to do another movie? And then not only did they do that, they brought them back to do another one after that. I think if they tried, like Christian was saying, I think if they tried, we might get something good. I don't know. All right. Michael writes, do you think Brand New Day will surpass episode 7 domestic? You know what? That is a great question, Michael. For those of you who don't know, domestically, Star Wars The Force Awakens is the biggest film of all time. It is the biggest film of all time. If we go down to, top lifetime grosses, if we go down and take a look, here's what: number 1 is The Force Awakens. Number 2 is Avengers Endgame. Number 3 is Spider-Man No Way Home. Number 4 is Avatar. Number 5 is Top Gun Maverick. And there you see the box office numbers. So Star Wars The Force Awakens, $936 million domestically, is the all-time highest grossing domestic film, domestic totals on a film ever, even bigger than Endgame. Now look at this number here. That's Spider-Man No Way Home. 100 and, just for rounding it out, about 120 million, 118 million short. Do I think Spider-Man Brand New Day can make 118 million more than No Way Home did domestically? It's possible. It's possible. Right now, I will stay with, I don't think it will pass The Force Awakens for the biggest domestic film of all time. But I wouldn't put money on it. It is absolutely within striking distance. So we'll just leave it at that. It's within striking distance, but it's got a long way to go, man. It's got a long way to go. Zach writes, you know what would be cool, John? A Muppets version of the Odyssey with Gonzo as Odysseus and one of the chickens as Penelope. I think a short 20-minute version. By the way, do you know that there's a Simpsons episode? Get it? Homer. There's a Simpsons episode where they do a version of the Odyssey. If they did something like that, like a short 20-minute version of a full-length movie, maybe not, but a 20-minute short television special of it, I'd probably watch it, Zach. All right, Ian McAllister writes, it's not often we get a, I don't know what HOTD is, episode, House of the Dragon episode that has an all-time scene in it, but this one has 2 all-time scenes, one of the best Thrones episodes ever. I don't know if I'd call the most recent episode of House of the Dragon one of the greatest episodes of Thrones ever. But this whole season has been great. I don't care what anybody says. This show is fantastic. Overall, House of the Dragon is fantastic. And this season has been insane. It's absolutely been insane. Like the Sunfire scene, amazing. The Crexes and Sheep Stealer scene, amazing. Hugh scene, amazing. I mean, this whole season has been peak television. Absolutely peak television. I don't know if I'd call this episode again one of the greatest Thrones episodes ever, but it was yet another great one. It was yet another great one. By the way, I think this Sunday, because it's the finale this Sunday, and we don't have our Dungeons and Dragons game this Sunday, I think this Sunday I might do a season finale open spoiler discussion at like 9 p.m. Los Angeles time. That'll be midnight on the East Coast, but it comes out at 6 p.m. So it gives me an hour to watch it, then give everybody about 2 hours to make sure they've watched it. I'm thinking about doing that this Sunday. I don't know, maybe yes. Leave in the comments below if you think that's a good idea or not, and maybe I'll do that this Sunday. All right. Next up, we got Billy the Entertainment Guy, who writes, is it possible that Doomsday beats Brand New Day's box office numbers, 360 million? Saw a lot of doubt on this. Yeah, it's possible, 100%. The big thing working against it, and we talked about this a little bit earlier in the show, is that while Spider-Man Brand New Day opened against Odyssey in its 3rd weekend, Doomsday is opening against Dune 3 in its 1st weekend. So I am of the belief that Doomsday will make more money than Brand New Day overall, But that opening weekend is going to be a little bit more contested because Dune 3 is literally going to be in its opening weekend, whereas Spider-Man opened against a film in its third weekend. So that will be that'll be the hurdle. That'll be the hurdle. All right. Jai CSC writes, also, my mom couldn't fathom Spider-Man 78 million in just one evening. I know that was crazy. And my dad's quite shocked by how much swearing you get away with on radio. On radio. Yeah, you know what? I actually don't swear very much. I don't swear very much. I think even by movie standards, I think my show is a PG-13. I honestly don't swear very much. I think I feel pretty good about that. I don't think I swear. And you know what? The reason I don't swear often or way too much on my show, and maybe even I shouldn't swear at all, but I just can't help myself, is because I am aware, like when I go to my movie meetups, I always meet people who say, yeah, I'll watch your show with my kids. So I try not to swear too much. Like Daniel just said, you swear at the worst times, like when my kids walk in the room. Yeah, don't mean to do that, but I do try not to swear. I probably swear maybe twice in an episode. I'm sure there are some episodes that I've never sworn and some episodes that I've sworn a lot more, but I think it probably averages out to a couple times. But I try not to swear much because I am aware that there are some people who watch my show with their kids. So I try my best. I try my best. All right. Next up, Joshua writes, no girl, no banner, only Hulk. What a great line that was. Meanwhile, me in the theater, we are back. We are back, dude. I'll tell you what, I'm not going into details for those of you who haven't seen Spider-Man yet, but just the fact that we get the real, which you saw in the trailers, the real true Hulk back is, I don't know if there was any moment, like there's a moment in the movie when Ned, this is not a spoiler, that Ned, Spider-Man, and MJ are in an apartment together. They're hanging out. Not a big deal. And I love that. I think it's my favorite scene of the movie, but I don't think there's a scene in the movie that made me happier, that made me feel more unbridled joy than seeing the real Hulk back. Seeing the real Hulk back. That's what gave me the most joy. I absolutely love that scene so much, man. All right, next up. Ryan writes, 1 or 2, the most impressive things House of the Dragon has done is take historical outline and turn archetypes into full characters. Aegon's rehabilitation, is barely touched upon in the books, yet after his big moment, I found myself kind of rooting for him, despite already knowing his ending. You know what's funny? I was actually talking to my wife, Anne, in the car last night. Anne and I love a lot of evenings. If we don't have something booked, Anne and I will just go, there's a lot of different things we'll say, let's go do this. But one of the things we like doing is let's go on Google Maps and just find a random game store. And let's go. Let's find one we haven't been to yet. And let's just go, even if we have to drive a little bit. So last night we went to this great little game shop called Nevermore. On right by the campus of UCR, University of California, Riverside. And it was a great little place. So we went out there and bought some Dungeons and Dragons stuff. We pulled a game off the shelf, played some games. It was a lot of fun. But as we were driving back, one of the things I said was, it is amazing how this show has very subtly, almost unnoticeably, made me go from really hating that character and sometimes talking about Aegon and sometimes not even caring about the character to this season. They've made me care about the character. And that moment when like Sunfire comes up behind him and he's like, Sunfire, Dracarys, and Dracarys is breathing fire and both their faces are fucked up. Oh, there, I swore again. But anyway, both their faces are all fucked up. And like Aegon, as Sunfire's breathing fire, Aegon's just like, ha! I'm like, holy shit, this is awesome. That was great. Like, I love that scene. That was so good. But the way they're kind of rehabilitating, in a way, the character of Aegon, while Rhaenyra is like descending into madness, is really amazingly done. Amazingly done. This show is so good, man. I just love the way they handle things. All right. Let's see. Next up, we've got Kyle who writes, with Spider-Man's huge success, Does this make Marvel have leverage over Sony when it comes to renewing contracts? Oh, quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. If anything, it gives Sony way more leverage. It's like, hey, well, hey, Marvel, you guys made a lot of money. Be a shame if you couldn't make that money anymore. Because what's Kevin Feige? By the way, I love Kevin Feige. You guys know this. What's Kevin Feige? If anything, it gave Sony more leverage. Because with this movie being so big now, Marvel cannot suddenly lose Spider-Man out of the MCU. Marvel has far more to lose here. And I'm a Marvel guy. I'm on Marvel's side. But let's call it what it is. With this huge success of Spider-Man Brand New Day that is in the MCU, Marvel can't lose him now. You can't. You absolutely cannot. Sony's going to make money either way. They would like to keep him in the MCU, and Sony would like to continue working with Marvel, and they would like to continue collecting all these big paychecks. And so there is pressure on both. There is absolute incentive for both Marvel and Sony to want to see this partnership continue and all that kind of stuff. But if you're asking which one of them has more leverage now, Sony has more leverage now. Because Marvel's the one that now, with the success of Brand New Day, they couldn't lose Spider-Man before. They absolutely cannot suddenly not have Spider-Man in the MCU anymore. They absolutely cannot. So again, it is in both of their best interests to keep this working relationship going. But if you're asking which one got more leverage as a result of the success of Brand New Day, oh, it's Sony. It's Sony that got more leverage. Anyway. All right, next up. Sam Jex writes, not to sound like that guy, but shouldn't the record for pure Dom opening be Endgame? Brand New Day had shows on Wednesday evening while Endgame did Thursday night. That is not entirely true. First of all, there were advanced fan screenings for Endgame. I know because I was at one or two of them. I'm sure many of you were as well. But here's the big key thing. While yes, on Wednesday evening, Amazon had in a select number of theaters for one showing only, fan advance Spider-Man Brand New Day, right? That is true. That is true. However, Avengers Endgame on its opening night, which is, of course, was the Thursday, they, instead of doing them on Wednesday night, they introduced their own advance nationwide fan screenings that opened 1 hour before all the regular Thursday screenings happened. There, it equals out. It's just that instead of doing it an hour before all the regular Thursday screenings, Spider-Man Brand New Days did it the night before, whereas Endgame did it the same day, but an hour early. The second thing you have to keep in mind is this. It was only a limited number of screens, but here's the thing. Do you think anybody who went to the Wednesday night advanced fan screenings would not have gone opening weekend if they didn't see it Wednesday night? The answer to that is obviously no. I don't believe there is a single person that went to the Wednesday night fan screenings that would not also have just gone on the weekend anyway. If they're going to an extra early screening, they would have been there opening weekend anyway. So, Endgame also had advanced fan screenings. Instead of one night before, they did it 1 hour before, but it's still the same thing. And anybody who went to the advanced fan screenings would have just gone on opening weekend anyway. So, no. There's no semantic detail way out of it. Spider-Man Brand New Day is the new record holder. That's just the way that is. All right. Next up. Fair question though, Sam. Fair question to ask, my friend. All right, next up. VJ writes, Hey, John, first time to use Super Chat. Oh, thank you so much for that, man. Appreciate that. I just want to say hi. I legit, sincerely love your show. Well, thank you so much. Sending my greetings and love from the Philippines. Have you ever been here? Well, salamat. Salamat po, my friend. I have never been to the Philippines. My married side of my family and my brother-in-law, like, have all told me I absolutely have to go. Part of the reason that they say I really have to go is because I've got, like I said, I have a brother-in-law who is also married into the family. And he said, John, when you go over there, they treat you like a king. Because Anne's family, I think I've mentioned this before, Anne's grandfather's in the Supreme Court. He passed away a few years ago, but Anne's grandfather's in the Supreme Court of the Philippines. Anne's aunt is a senator. Anne's uncle is a governor. Another aunt is the head of their like the country nationwide celebrity club. I think her other uncle is like the head of the whatever the organization that runs international trade for the country is. I mean, there's high schools and parks named after her. Actually, you know what? I don't think Anne would mind if I showed this. This is, I've got this picture here. Let me see if I might have shown this before. I might not have, but this is a really cool picture. So the man holding up his hand, that's Anne's grandfather being sworn in. The lady in yellow is the president of the Philippines. And that's Anne's grandfather being sworn in for the Supreme Court. And that little girl standing beside him is my wife. The little cutie there, standing beside her grandfather is, that's my wife. That's Anne. And yeah. So that was, so I've always been told I absolutely need to go, but here's the thing. I hate flying. I fly when I need to, but I really hate flying because I have a big fear of heights. Again, I absolutely fly when I need to, but the idea of a 14-hour flight, paralyzes me. I don't know if I can do it. Yes, I should go and visit the Philippines sometime soon. I really should. The only thing that has stopped me, and Anne's family keeps trying to get me to go. And the only thing that has stopped me is that I cannot imagine being on a 14-hour flight. But that's it. Anyway, salamat po, my friend. Thanks for writing that in. I appreciate you, man. All right, next up. Ryan Loney writes. Oh, I already did that one. Let's see. Ron H writes, and like a fart in the wind, I disappear. Not quite sure what that means, Ron, but I'm sure it was meant well. All right. Joshua Main writes, I love Punisher, especially Bernthal's iteration. I thought they did really well bringing him into the MCU proper. It worked very well for me. Listen, again, this shows that you can do these R-rated characters and do them really well in a PG-13 environment. Does anybody not think Frank worked in this movie? Yeah, Frank worked in this movie. Now, do we want to see the brutal R-rated version of Frank too? Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. But this notion of you can't do Blade PG-13. Yeah, you can. You want to know why you could do Blade PG-13? Because you can do a lot of horrible, violent things against monsters and robots and aliens and still keep PG-13. You can do horrific, unspeakable things to monsters and robots and aliens and still get a PG-13. You can. I would prefer R, just like everybody else, but I'm saying it can be done. And I think Frank in this movie really showed that you can do Frank. Maybe not always, but you can do Frank in a PG, because I thought he worked well, and I don't think they betrayed the character at all. I don't feel for a second that they betrayed the character at all. All right, next up, A. Marcellus writes, I wish Sony had been a bit smarter from the beginning. I agree. Aaron Taylor Johnson was wasted in Kraven. I 100% agree. When he could have been a good villain for Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Listen, I don't care whether or not he's a villain for Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I mean, yeah, would that be cool? Yes. It could have been a great, Kraven by itself could have been a great movie. And Aaron Taylor Johnson was great for the role. And he was wasted in it with a horrible, horrible, horrible script. But that movie, a Kraven standalone film, could have been awesome. You know, a Morbius movie could have been awesome. But yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. All right. Next up, X-Men Superfan Man Frost writes, Gail Simone said, if you need to stop an asteroid, you call Superman. If you need to solve a mystery, you call Batman. But if you need to end a war, you call Wonder Woman. Do you think it's a fair description? I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, yeah, if you need to solve a mystery, you call Batman. I mean, I think there's a lot of superheroes you can call to stop an asteroid. And I think there's a lot of superheroes you can call to stop a war. I don't know if I would put it as black and white as that. Now, look, can Superman stop an asteroid? Yes. Can Wonder Woman stop a war? Yes. Totally with that. I don't know if I would, I don't know, Superfan, if I would pigeonhole it like that, though. I don't know if I would pigeonhole it like that, but that's just me. All right. Let's see here. Why am I losing my place? Okay, here we go. Next up, we go to Joshua Main, who sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you, Joshua, for supporting us on that level, man. Appreciate that very much. And Joshua writes, I'm really stoked about Gosling as our MCU Ghost Rider. I've been delving into writer lore since the announcement. Might be a crazy idea for MCU, but do you think we ever get to see Frank Castle Cosmic Ghost Rider? I doubt it. Now, look, there are a lot of things that happen in comics. And by the way, I'm with you. I was very excited to hear good Canadian kid Ryan Gosling was going to be playing Ghost Rider. By the way, I am cognizant of the fact that sometimes when I'm talking about Ryan Reynolds, I'll accidentally say Ryan Gosling. And sometimes when I'm talking about Ryan Gosling, I'll accidentally say Ryan Reynolds. I mean, two high profile, big superstar, good Canadian kids of the same generation. Sometimes I do that. I'm totally aware that I do that. I've had you guys writing to me in the live chat before the show started. John, do you realize sometimes you mean to say Ryan Gosling, you say Ryan Reynolds? Yeah, I do. I'm aware of it. It happens, whatever. But I'm with you, Joshua. I was very, very excited to see good Canadian kid, Ryan Gosling get that role. I think it's going to be great. However, I think there's some storylines. Is it impossible? No, but I think there are some storylines that are so deep, hardcore comic nerd that it's just, I think it would be a step too far for just average moviegoers. And I think like Frank Castle, Cosmic Ghost Rider, I think that might be one of them. Again, don't take me saying that as definitive. You're asking me a question. I'm giving you my opinion. I don't think that's something that they do, but it's certainly not impossible. And let's see where things go. All right. Thanks a lot for that. And thank you again for supporting us on that level, man. Appreciate it. All right. Jeff writes, I want some of that sweet comic book movie fatigue money, don't you? Again, all I can do is sit back and laugh whenever I see anybody who thinks that it makes them look like, oh, I've got my finger on the pulse. So when they say, oh, there's comic book movie fatigue. No, there's not. There has never been. What there has been is mediocrity fatigue. I've been saying that forever. Again, these people who believe in comic book movie fatigue think there's this cosmic, wild coincidence that at the same time the general quality of comic book movies declined, that the box office also declined. Pure coincidence. One has nothing to do with the other. Pure coincidence. Sure, dude. You believe that if you want. It is again, as Vision would say, it's obvious causality. And as soon as you start putting out really great, fantastic comic book movies again, and you start building up the quality again and you get some momentum going again, guess what? Everybody's here. Guys, we just had the biggest opening weekend in the history of cinema, and it's a comic book movie. There is no such thing as comic book movie fatigue. There just isn't. Just isn't. There's mediocrity fatigue. All right. Next up, X-Men Superfan also writes, I always saw Batman as the tactician of the JL. I don't think that's far off. Superman as the leader and Wonder Woman as the tank. But I am curious how you view these characters' positions in the Justice League. How do you see their roles? Well, I mean, yeah, listen, the one they always, when they got to figure something out, the one everybody always looks to is Batman, right? There's a reason Superman refers to Batman as the most dangerous man in the world. He's the guy. And if there was anybody who could take everybody out, I remember the one Green Lantern line, if there was anyone who could take out everyone, it's Bruce. It's Batman. Like, that's the thing. Superman will always be the moral compass of the Justice League. I've always looked at Superman not so much. I mean, Superman is obviously the most powerful superhero if anybody was the tank, but the tank is downplaying his actual role. Superman I've always seen as the moral compass. And I don't know how I would see, I've never really thought of the other characters like Flash or Wonder Woman or Aquaman about what their like role is other than, you know, just being there and the value that they bring. But I don't know if you would like tap them into like a World of Warcraft role. Like one's a caster, one's a healer, one's a tank, one's DPS. One, like, I don't know if if I've ever thought of the Justice League in those terms before. All right, Joshua writes in again and says, I didn't mean to choke you up the other day when speaking about my mom. No, I remember that. But I want to say thank you for being vulnerable and taking the time to speak on it. It helps more than you know. Merci, Campea. Well, you are very welcome. And yeah, man, listen. One of the reasons to me, movies are the greatest things in the world. And I've waxed poetic many times about them, but one of the many reasons that movies are the greatest things in the world are these core memories, to get a little Pixar's Inside Out on you. But these core memories we form with the people we experience them with. You know, I've always said this. If you really want to boil down what movies are experiential events. If you, that's oversimplifying it, but if you really want to boil it down to what movies are experiential events. And nothing is more powerful than shared experiences. And some of my most powerful, great core memories, whether it's with my mom, the guy who was my best friend growing up who passed away a few years ago, or other friends that I have, is like seeing this movie with this person. And it's bond creating and their shared experiences, and just yet another reason why I love them so much. All right. Thanks for that, Joshua. Next up, X-Men Superfan says again, would you like to see Wonder Woman fight? Who would you like to see Wonder Woman fight in her films? Cersei, Giganta, Cheetah, don't really care. Or someone more obscure like Angleman, Devastation, Blue Snowman. Who would be your pick? You know, I always say this when people ask me, Superfan, about what villain, like as soon as there's a comic book movie announced, what villain do you want to see in it? My answer is always the same. Don't care. Because it doesn't matter. All that matters is whatever villain they put in it, do you write them really well? Because, you know, arguably, there's an argument to be made that Doctor Doom is certainly amongst maybe the greatest comic book villain of all time. There were 4 Fantastic Four movies that used Doctor Doom as their villain. Did that help any of those movies? Nope. In some ways, it made their movies worse. Yet, there are some comic book movies. No one's ever heard of Killmonger. But Killmonger was written so great. Just so great that he becomes this unforgettable major presence in the film. So yeah, ultimately for me, and I know some people get frustrated when this is the answer that I give, but at the end of the day, I really don't care because it does. You put in the greatest comic book foil of that hero of all time. If you don't write it well, it doesn't make any difference. You could put it in a really obscure one. If you write it well, it makes all the difference. So I really don't care, just as long as they write them well. All right. E. Groomy writes, I saw somewhere, I think it was Dan Murrell, that Marvel's share of profits in their deal with Sony is just 5%, but oh, no. That's not, no. I listen, Dan knows his stuff. You must have misheard him, or you didn't understand specifically what he was talking about. Merchandising rights, but they get merchandising rights and the rights to use Spidey in other Marvel movies. Is there truth to that? Seems unfair to me. No, it is not. There is a video that I will draw your attention to. Give me a second here. I will bring it up. Okay. There is this video here at the top. You see, understanding the Marvel Sony Spider-Man deal and rights. Okay. I just did this one about 4 months ago. It's not a long video. I think it's just a little over 10 minutes long. And it breaks down specifically what the profit sharing deal is. And I assure you, it is far more. As a matter of fact, let me just see if I can, I'll take a second here. If you'll indulge me for just a second here, I'll see if I can find the spot where I actually go into the profit sharing. Where is the profit sharing? I know I've got it here. Well, I think I'm in merchandising now. Hold a second. Maybe go back a bit. Anyway, it's closer to 50-50. It used to be much smaller. Like prior to No Way Home, I think the deal was much smaller for Marvel. I think Sony got a much larger percentage. After No Way Home, Sony and Marvel renegotiated the profit sharing, and the profit sharing is now much closer to 50-50. So no, it is not. And again, Dan totally knows his stuff. So like if you must have misheard him or misunderstood what it was he was referring to, because Marvel gets far more than 5%. They get far more than 5%. It's closer to 50-50 now. I think at one point it was like 70-30, maybe even 80-20, but it's closer to 50-50 now. Again, I go and find my video, Understanding the Spider-Man Rights. So search Understanding Spider-Man Rights, John Campea. It's like I said, it's a little over 10-minute video. Go and watch that video, and it fully lays out everything about how it works, including the profit sharing. So go and check. Hopefully you'll find that helpful. All right. Next up, Meta DK writes, theory, Secret Wars leaves Battleworld intact. Nope. I can tell you, nope. No, it does not. Letting Marvel tell stories that wouldn't fit the MCU. Thor Core, Beta Ray, Ghost Rider, World War Hulk, and a Blade Vampire Domain before ending with Avengers 8's thoughts. Nope. 100% no. One of the things that we know for sure is that it is the end of the multiverse era. Not that they can't ever in the future again introduce some multiverse stuff if they want, but Kevin Feige's been pretty clear on this in the past and talking about the ending of this phase and the ending of Secret Wars. It ends the multiverse stuff. It wraps all that stuff up. They will not leave. I can guarantee, without going into all the reasons why, I can guarantee that they are not going to leave Battleworld intact. After, by the way, I missed the fact that Meta sent in a $20 super chat. Thank you, Meta. Appreciate that very much. But yeah, and it's a great question and it's a good theory. But yeah, they are not leaving it intact. They are not going to be, they are going to try to simplify the MCU more. They are doing away with multiverse and all that kind of stuff. And part of that is going to be, and if you know the comic book story, yeah, Battleworld will not be a part of it moving forward. Yeah, so we'll just leave it at that. Again, Meta, thank you so much for sending that in and supporting us on that level, man. Appreciate it. And again, in the absence of anything else, it's a perfectly good theory, but like I'm saying, yeah, they're not going to be leaving Battleworld intact. All right. X-Men Superfan writes, do you think Bette Davis was ahead of most actresses of her time? Because you're talking about the era of Crawford, and you're talking about the era of Hepburn, and you're talking about the era of a lot of, look, she was certainly one of the icons of the era. Would I say she was ahead of most actresses of her time? Well, most? Sure. But there's like 15 actresses that were ahead of most actresses of their time. But was she like ahead of the pack? That's not in an era where Hepburn and Joan Crawford and stuff like that are. I wouldn't think. That's just my opinion, though, X-Men. All right. Galaxis writes, hey, John, it's been a week now since Mike Flanagan's Carrie trailer dropped, and yet no one talked about it. How did this fly under everybody's radar? Well, I mean, look, I love Mike Flanagan, and by the way, the early reviews for that Carrie show are very good, but a trailer or commercial for a new upcoming show drops almost every day. It's not that it flew under everybody's radar. It's just that, let's be honest, it's not one of the most hotly anticipated shows coming up. And again, I love Mike Flanagan. Can't wait to see Clayface. But I think the show's going to have to come out and earn its reputation and earn its hype. Right now, it's just a remake of an old movie, which is in and of itself an interpretation of a book. And I think not a lot of people are going to be paying attention to it, like most shows, until it comes out and kind of earns its audience. At least that's my interpretation of it at this point. All right. Attack of the Mushi writes, I've seen Spider-Man 3 times. Next up, IMAX on Friday. Yep. Spider-Man expanding into some IMAX screens. I know a lot of people, those things are going to be sold out, I think. All right. X-Men Superfan writes, what do you think of Meryl Streep as Miranda in Devil Wears Prada 2? She was fantastic. I don't think Devil Wears Prada 2 was as good as Devil Wears Prada 1, but she was immaculate in it again. All right. Richard Cutts writes, one of two. As a user of Regal Unlimited, which is a very good movie membership plan, my ratings can't be verified on Rotten Tomatoes. Oh, sure they can. Absolutely they can. Do you think they should make it possible for people to link their Regal Unlimited and A-list accounts? They do. I know that they do. I know people that do that. At least I know people that do that with their AMC accounts, and I am 100% for sure. 100% sure that you can also do that with Regal. So if you can't figure it out, again, I'm not a Regal Unlimited member, so I don't know how to do it as a Regal Unlimited member because I'm not one. But if you can't figure it out, I would simply talk to somebody. Hop on, Google Gemini, or give a call, or use Regal's Twitter customer support or something, and I'm sure somebody will be able to walk you through it, because I know for sure you can do, at least on AMC side, you absolutely can. All right. That was part one. Part two, it just seems to me that they're missing out on a larger pool of ratings that could go towards the total verified. Again, I know they can. I absolutely know they can. And I can't see why you'd be able to do it on AMC and not on Regal. So like I said, I would give somebody a call. I would give somebody a call. All right. Next up, Eric Ortiz writes, John, it's been a good time. I'm from Spain, so watching my country win the World Cup and then Spider-Man as well has been awesome. Yeah. Listen, what's funny? When the World Cup started, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Spain opened, like Spain went into the World Cup as the winner of the Euros. They were the easy front runners. Everybody expected going into the World Cup that Spain was going to win and win easily. Well, then what happened was, I believe it was their opening match. They played Cape Verde, right? And this little, nobody's ever even heard of it, little island country. They've got a population of like 400,000 people. And Spain played to a draw against Cape Verde. And all of a sudden everybody went, well, I guess Spain sucks. Guess Spain sucks now. Well, then Cape Verde just tore it up in the rest of the tournament. And then had that legendary game against Argentina where they nearly pulled it off. And it's like, as the Robin rounds were going, I was like, I think this Cape Verde is better than everybody thought, and I don't think we should be writing off Spain just because Spain had a draw against Cape Verde, because Cape Verde looks like they're pretty damn good. And then sure enough, they showed themselves to be the powerhouse. They were, I'm not gonna lie, I was cheering for Messi in the final, but Spain was clearly the better team. Clearly the better team, and the best team won, and congratulations to them for that. Okay, next up, Big Cookie writes, I just finished watching The Offer and really like The Offer's fantastic. What do you think? Why do you think it only holds 50% on 57% on Rotten Tomatoes? That can't be right. The Offer is amazing. Like, The Offer is, like, seriously one of the best things. Let me just go here. The Offer, Rotten Tomatoes, season 1, The Offer. Yeah, it says 57%. It says 57%, 95% popcorn meter, but 57%. I don't know what listen, it's all art. It's all subjective. Just because I like something doesn't mean other people have to like it too. Not at all. But The Offer is fantastic. It's fantastic. I cannot believe it's got a 57%. That's ridiculous. That is straight up ridiculous. I'm actually getting angry. But that is ridiculous. Dude, if you guys have not seen The Offer, watch The Offer. It's so good. I am shocked, man. I am shocked, Big Cookie, by that number. Thank you for bringing it to my attention, but that is just preposterous, man. All right, Real Writer, we're running out of time here, so I'll get these finished off. Hey, John, I remember when you first announced that Spider-Man had officially joined the MCU back when you were at AMC. So wild, had fun, how far we've come. Listen, I still remember where I was. I remember exactly where I was. I was in the foyer of this big hotel in Atlanta, Georgia. I was in Atlanta because I was the keynote speaker at this big AMC annual leadership conference. I was actually the opener for Tyler Perry. Like, I was the first keynote speaker, and then after me, Tyler Perry came out and did his speech. And so that night, I was walking with Dennis Zen and Amy Rose Eisenbach, and we're walking through the foyer. We're heading towards the door because we were going out to get something to eat. And I checked my phone. I think all three of us checked our phones, and the announcement came out that Disney and Marvel and Sony had reached an agreement for Spider-Man to appear in the MCU. I'll never forget it. Like, I knew exactly where I was and who I was with. That was it was a movie industry changing moment. It really was. I'll always remember that, man. All right. Eric Ortiz writes, John, X-Men are my favorite characters in comics, so I'm beyond excited for the future films. I love the X-Men. Again, my all-time favorite character in all of comics is Magneto. He's my all-time favorite character. Not that he's been my favorite character in the movie world, but my all-time favorite character is Magneto, and can't wait to see who they cast as Magneto. Can't wait to see the new iteration of Magneto, and it's going to be really exciting to see where they go with it. It's exciting times, my friends. All right, Draven writes, after Spider-Man's success, what do you predict Doomsday is going to do in its opening weekend? To me, again, the big question is not Doomsday's opening weekend. To me, the big question is Doomsday's overall box office. Because again, unlike Spider-Man, which only had to open against Odyssey in its third weekend, Doomsday is opening on Doomsday. It's opening on the same day that Dune 3 is opening. And while it will make far more money than Dune 3, a lot of people are going to go to see Dune 3. So I don't think, so here's what I think right now. And again, I reserve the right to change my mind as we get closer and closer, but right now, this is what I think. I think Avengers Doomsday will be the biggest film of 2026 when it's all said and done. But I don't think, because it's opening on the same day as Dune 3, I don't think it will beat Spider-Man's opening weekend record. I think when it's all done, I think Spider-Man Brand New Day holds on to that opening weekend record of 360 million. But I think ultimately Doomsday becomes the biggest film of the year, and maybe even the biggest film of all time. We'll find out. Well, again, we'll see as we get closer. Real Writer writes, John, with all the success Marvel had recently, especially now with Brand New Day, would you say that Marvel is officially back? I feel like they're back. Let's effing go. Yeah, I think I was not ready to say that like after Guardians 3. I wasn't ready to say that after Deadpool and Wolverine, because don't forget, in that mix, we still had Captain America 4, which was not very good. And I wasn't quite ready to say it after Thunderbolts, because I thought Thunderbolts was great. And I felt like we're just about ready to say it after Fantastic Four, because Fantastic Four, well, I don't think it's a spectacular movie. I thought it was quite good. I thought Fantastic Four was quite good. I enjoyed it. And I went to go see it like at least 3 times, I think. But you can't say it's back until that Spider-Man movie comes out. It's back. Marvel's back. Yeah, and John Wick. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm back. Yeah, I think Marvel's back. And I think Doomsday is just going to cement it. But yeah, I think with Spider-Man, I think we're ready to say that Marvel is back. All right. Next up, John writes, over under 35% chance that IMAX lawyers are looking for a way to squeeze Doomsday into a few theaters before the Dune deal finishes. 0. Listen, they signed the deal with Dune knowing that Doomsday was coming too. Right? So there is no way to squeeze out of it. And by the way, they don't need to. Do you not think the IMAX screens, with Spider-Man Brand New Day opening, the IMAX screens for Odyssey were still selling out, even though Spider-Man just had the biggest opening in history? Do you not think Dune 3 are going to sell out the IMAX screens? They may not sell out every screen, obviously not, because they got Doomsday. But do you not think Dune 3 is going to sell out those theaters? I guarantee you those IMAX screens are going to sell out. And so after that, what does it matter to IMAX? A sellout is a sellout. Doesn't matter if it's a Paw Patrol movie or a Dune movie or an Avengers movie. As long as the theaters are sold out, that's all they care about. And those IMAX screens are going to be sold out. They are going to be sold out. So yeah. There's that. So I don't really think it matters to them one way or the other. They're going to make their money either way. All right. Josh writes, over under a $160 million second weekend for Brand New Day. I'll go over. Not by much. Not by much. And that would be an iconic, historic second weekend if it makes 160. But yeah, that would represent about a 55% drop? 55 to 60% drop? That would be great. So, but I'm going to go a little bit over. I'm going to guess like 170, 175. But yeah, but I'll go over, but just barely. All right. Nexus writes, very funny report came out yesterday from Polygon that the director of Fast 11 still hasn't read the script that supposedly made Vin cry. I have not seen that, but now I'm going to go look that up. Man, that would be par for the course, wouldn't it? Well, I mean, okay. To be fair, Vin Diesel isn't just an actor in Fast and the Furious. He's also the producer. So the idea that the producer has seen the script before the director is actually not a crazy one. It's actually not a crazy one. So at first that sounded pretty funny, but in reality, that wouldn't be crazy. Because again, he's not just the star and the face of the franchise. He is also the producer, kind of the driving engine behind the thing, no pun intended. So I guess it is pretty funny when you read it that way, Nexus. Thanks for sharing that. All right. X-Men Superfan writes, what do you think of Anne Hathaway's performances this year? Mother Mary, Devil Wears Prada, The Odyssey. Well, listen, she's been great. Anne Hathaway is fantastic. And she's got a couple of other things coming out. She's got Verity coming out. She's got The End of Oak Street coming out. Like, this is I mean, she's not going to be in the biggest blockbusters of the year, although Devil Wears Prada was pretty big. But I mean, this is like really her. Like, she's in everything this year. And I'm really excited about those last two ones we just mentioned. Like, I think she's going to be great in Verity. And that movie actually looks really good. It really does. It's not my cup of tea normally, but that movie looks really good. And I think The End of Oak Street looks wonderful. So she's not just had those, she's got a couple more. I think she's been great this year. All right. And our final question of the day. Told you a lot of super chats came in. Music City Soul writes, returning the love. Appreciate you pulling up to our chat. Oh, on MRVL Bros yesterday. Oh, well, thank you for that, man. I appreciate that. Now, listen, some of you guys know this. I'm not just in the movie talk space. I'm a fan of the movie talk space. And I love hearing what other people have to say. And so a lot of times, like when I've got like a half hour or an hour and maybe Anne's not home from work yet or whatever, I often sit in my living room, got my laptop open, and I like to look for live streams talking about movies. And when I find a live stream talking about movies and whether they're saying things I agree with or disagree with, if I think they're having a good conversation, I like to send in a super chat to be supportive. So that happens now and again, and I really like doing that. So thank you for that, dude. That was not necessary, but thank you, Music City Soul. I appreciate that very much. Ooh, my voice is gone. We've been going well over 2 hours today, and that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here, everybody, and making this show part of your day. Big special thank you to the literal thousands of you guys in the live chat. Appreciate you all being here so much. Big thank you to all you guys who sent in the super chats. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And everybody involved with the show, thanks you guys so very much for your support. Big shout out to my boy, Christian Harloff, our technical producer, Jonathan Voico. Tomorrow's going to be a great day. I love Wednesdays. We got me, Robert Meyer Burnett, my good friend, Sean Chandler is going to be on here as well. So I look forward to doing that. Hopefully you guys will come back and join us for tomorrow's show as well. So that will do it for me for now, guys. Ann and I are going to go out and see Spider-Man again tonight, I think. Maybe you guys will too. Hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow. That's it for me. My name's John Campea. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.